to Third Wheel, the show where we discuss anything that we want to talk about, and one person will more likely contribute less to the discussion than the other two. That person is then dubbed the Third Wheel, and the other two will proceed to make fun of them for it. This is only the second episode, but we already have added a new rule. We have all come to the agreement that the third wheel of the last episode will be picking the topic of discussion for the next episode in order to reduce the odds that they would be the third wheel of the next episode. Now, granted, this means that they still have a chance of being the third wheel for the topic choice that they select, and it is completely possible that that happens. And if that does happen, we're gonna make fun of you even more. So Brandon, if you're the third wheel of this episode, that's gonna be really unfortunate for you.
That would be unfortunate.
I think that this rule was created purely because we thought Brandon would be the third wheel in every possible instance.
You know what? Safety precautions have been made in order to increase Brandon's odds of not having that happen, but that's only increased the odds by a very slight percentage.
I don't think no.
I also came to the realization when I was editing the last episode that, yeah, Brandon, you were deemed the first ever third wheel of this podcast, and that will go down in the history books. But also, you were named the first unanimously decided third wheel, in which all of us, including yourself, decided that you were the third wheel. Because not all of us have to agree on who is the third wheel. It could come down to a tie. It could come down to a 2-1. No, you are unanimously chosen to be the third wheel of the episode.
I was okay with that though because we all equally contributed, and it wasn't me being a third wheel because I didn't contribute anything. It was just because my story was just.
You were a literal third wheel.
Yeah.
That is why you became the third wheel.
Yeah.
And you will be known as the first ever unanimously decided third wheel on the podcast. And who knows, that may never happen again.
Very tragic.
It doesn't mean it's gonna continue to. I'm not gonna keep being the third wheel though. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well,
What a strong
Mr.
argument
Not
there.
the third wheel. What's our topic today?
We're gonna be talking about some sleep stories, and what I mean by that is just abnormal dreams you had, or abnormal sleeping experiences, or just anything related to that.
Really coming from my throat, huh? For all the
Wow.
viewers at home, I do not remember my dreams at all.
That
So-
sounds like a personal problem.
Personal attack.
I'm sure that you'll still be able to come up with something that'll make Brandon the third wheel of the episode anyways.
Fantastic. I'll go last.
That is an interesting thing. Should we discuss how the order works then? Will there be a predetermined order
Not
as
it.
far as that?
I have a few different varieties of stories, so I can give you like a sample to get started with, and then
You're gonna Costco sales give us a sample real quick before we
Yeah.
buy things.
Oh yeah, it's a great sample too.
I mean, you said that
The
about
confidence.
your last story too.
Huh?
You said that about your dance story too. On how
Oh no, I mean
such a
these
great
are
story.
very short stories, but there's a lot of them. So
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, keep those
Fantastic.
short stories short because we don't want to be like 15 minutes over our hour mark.
all right. So do you need the sample story?
I guess you've already volunteered yourself to go first, so might as
All right,
well.
so-
just go on and
Fantastic.
go
This-
ahead.
I've got two of them, and they both pertain to the area of sleepwalking.
Interesting.
All right. So both of these instances occurred when I was around the age of, I want to say, 9 or 10 years old. I'm lean closer to 10 years old, but basically,
You were born at a very young age.
no, what?
Wait, what does that mean? Hang on a second. Weren't we all? Were we all born at a
That's-
very young
That's
age?
the joke, Steven.
Yes, but I have ADHD. That's hard to comprehend in this moment.
So do I. Just use
But
your
you
brain.
understood it when it came out of your mouth. You knew exactly what you were doing. Not okay.
Gotta go on back on track here. So anyway, some context. I had a bed. In my bedroom.
I hope you would.
No, I thought you slept in the river.
And next to my bed was this. I want to say it was like it was about the size of a night table, but it was basically just kind of this very very basic wooden table, and it was about the size of a night table, but it was a table. And it was just directly across from my bed. And one night, 10-year-old me had a dream. I don't exactly remember what occurred in the dream, but I remember it having to do with Spider-Man or something. I don't know. I think I was Spider-Man.
We love the graphic imagery.
I already,
Oh, yeah.
I already am imagining what's gonna happen in this
Well,
story.
it's because the story doesn't it doesn't exactly relate to the dream entirely. It's more what happened outside of that dream.
Interesting.
So I'll tell it from my perspective first. So yeah, I was having a dream. I was Spider-Man, and basically my mom usually woke me up in the morning so I could get ready for school. And all I remember was waking up, and my mom, and this is like me in the process of waking up. So everything was still kind of dark, but I heard my mom's voice, and I just heard, "Brandon, what are you doing?" And as I gained consciousness, I could feel my arms and legs just scrunched up, like very much next to my torso. And I sit up, but I am not in my bed anymore. I am on that wooden table, just absolutely just compacted into a small unit of a human being in a very, it was semi-Spider-Man pose. And yeah, and my mom basically walked in to me like that, and I had ripped my shirt off or something. I don't know what happened, but it was
As
just a
one does.
very, very awkward situation.
As we have all done in the
Yeah.
past in one point or another.
Yeah, and so that's one instance of sleepwalking I've had. The second one is a little bit more. I actually remember the dream more of this instance than I do the one before. But so again, I want to say I was 9 or 10, maybe 11, but so
This was literally the day after. This was the night after that this happened.
it very well could have been like the month after. It was definitely. I definitely had a phase where I had sleepwalking experiences. I don't think I do anymore, or just yeah. Anyways, think the Titanic, but it's made of Legos. And I'm in this Lego Titanic, and it's sinking. And I'm running down the hallways. I'm going downstairs. I'm panicking.
You're going deeper into the boat.
My question is if you're on the Titanic and you're sinking, why are you going downstairs?
I don't know. It was the only. You know what?
It's to fight the water.
It was dream logic. Okay. And yeah, I literally. The thing about this one, though, is that I woke up in my bed, and I don't recollect anything that I may have done in the night, so I go downstairs to eat breakfast for my mom to explain to me what happened that night. So, from my mom's point of view, she's just, downstairs working, and all of a sudden, she hears just these very loud footsteps running down the hall upstairs. She hears very loud thumps running down the stairs, and then she just hears a small voice say, "I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here." and so she kind of starts to get up, and all of a sudden there's just a very skin-colored blob, just blur, just runs past the door, just murmuring things to himself. She says, "Brandon," and,
Brandon?
and she comes out the door, and she looks at me, and she could kind of tell right away that I was dreaming because my eyes were just darting everywhere, and I just looked very much out of it. But the thing was, I had apparently ripped all of my pajamas off. I was just straight up in my underwear, just bolting around the house,
Why do
talking
you
to myself
strip when you sleepwalk?
I don't know.
Why are you a streaker when you sleepwalk? What is
I
this?
don't know. I don't know. But
Guys, the water that we're gonna sink into is freezing, but hear me out.
I just like to imagine just like you have this house that is separated by like a half wall. So you have your like living room area, and then you have this like kitchen area, and there's like a door frame that leads into the next room, but you can't see any part of that other room except what's through that door frame. Your mom just in the kitchen hears like, "Never let go, Jack," and then little Brandon, only in his underwear, bolts past that opening. Just like, "I'm free," or like acting like, what do you say? "I gotta get out of here." I don't know what I would do. Like even today, because like I can only picture you doing this now. So I just see college you doing that.
yeah, so
Oh my god, that's
something that happened. Yeah. But yeah, so those are like my sleepwalking experiences. I don't know if you guys have stories you want to share, but I have more to come later on.
I will give Grace some time to figure
Thank you.
something out. My story is quite it doesn't necessarily pertain too much to sleepwalking, but I like to refer it to I gave it a story title because I thought it was funny, and it's called Charity Kills. So
Oh,
that's the title of my story for you. So
Go on.
I'm like maybe this story also takes place when I'm like 11 years old, around that age, roughly same age, and my family and I we're getting ready to go see a concert. This is a Toby Mac concert because I'm a Jesus boy. And for all those of you who don't know who Toby Mac is, he's like if you took hip hop and pounded the Bible on top of it, and made it, Jesus-y. That's how it is. And I'm like 11 years old again, and this is the first concert I'm ever going to. I haven't been to a concert yet, and I was 11, 12 years old, and so I'm like super excited for this concert because it's just like it's local, and being out of Nevada, there's nothing here. Literally, there's no one who wants to come to Nevada to do anything, so it was super cool to have someone be local. And we're getting ready. We get to the concert, and how his typical concerts work is that you have like, I don't know, 5 or 6 other artists that are in the same kind of like upbeat Christian contemporary music genre that play before him and do like, I don't know, 30-minute sets each. So it's a really, and then he comes out after that and does a whole hour long concert thing about his like new, like latest album and whatnot. And there's only an intermission between the last act that goes before him and his own hour-long thing. So you're in there for like 2.5 hours. They have like a 30-minute intermission, and then there's an hour of his concert of what he's doing. So it's a really long time to see this artist, but I'm enjoying myself. The 2.5 hours, I'm vibing. I'm having a great time. It comes to the intermission, and this charity called Food for the Hungry is there, and is basically kind of like sponsoring the concert and whatnot. And basically, Food for the Hungry is it's a it works essentially kind of like Operation Christmas Child, where they collect a bunch of things and they send it over to third world countries, and so that they can have Christmas and whatnot. Except it just does it on a daily basis. You are given a family, um, and you send money, whatnot, in order to support that family in a third world country by buying them like food, water, other things like that to improve their daily living. And they were just like, yeah, it's a super cool thing. And they were just like, if there's anyone here who feels engaged to do this, then please raise your hand. And I remember my parents telling me this story. That both of them were looking at each other just like, I think we got the money for that and whatnot. I think that we might be able to do that. And then they look over. 11-year-old me is standing straight up with my hand in the air. Just like, yes! I will do this! Pick me! And it's just like, it wasn't like a competition thing. They were just like, they had hundreds of thousands of families and children that they could be sponsored. And I don't know what me was thinking, but I felt very called just to raise my hand in the air. And they brought the little pamphlet over to me, and my parents were just like, "You realize this costs money, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do this, whatnot." It was like, I don't know, $10 a month or something like that. And 12-year-old me, doesn't have like a job, but I was just like, well, I can if it's $10 a month, then that's like 10 divided by $30 a day. That's like loose change.
Oh.
And I'm like doing all these other things. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what part of like the pamphlet I was looking at, but like my mom came over to talk to me and showed me that it was actually like 30 like plus dollars a month.
Oh.
And the $10 thing that I found was just like, here's your first gift kind of thing. And I don't know what happened, but immediately my stomach and heart switched places because I felt my entire body just get super heavy and immediately wanted to throw up. No reason for it at all. I just got in that moment incredibly sick. I remember falling back into my chair and just being like, "Oh, feel great." And then we were walking around during the intermission to see like merchandise and whatnot, and I was with my mom, and the rest of my family had walked away, and I was like, "I need a second," and I went over into the corner of this convention center and then just laid on the floor, and my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't feel good." I'm not. I'm not doing too good, and I'm just like dying in this corner because I'm like, and I had an incredibly high fever, so I'm literally actually just sweating in the corner, laying on the floor. A 12-year-old looked like he just got shot or whatever. Like, I'm actually dying in this corner, and I remember getting back up, going into the auditorium, preparing to have Toby Mac come out, and I was just sitting in our seats, and everyone's getting ready for him to come back out. And the second he stepped foot on stage, I passed out. I
Oh.
immediately blacked out as soon because I remember watching him walk on, and then nothing else. I woke up literally 5 seconds before they ended the last song of his thing.
You
And
saw
that and
the whole thing?
and his concert portion went 30 minutes over the expected time. So I was passed out for at least 90 minutes to maybe 2 hours.
Damn.
Deathly ill. And I remember waking up in a puddle of my own sweat from my fever that I got, being like, huh?
Oh.
What? What happened? And then I remember them closing the song afterwards and being like, "You guys are awesome. Good night." And I was like, "Did I
Did,
miss it?"
did your
What?
parents not notice that you were
No, my
just...
parents, my mom was right next to me because she saw that I was just like basically evaporating right next to her, and she was like, "Okay, at least he's asleep. Maybe he's asleep. I should check to see if he's alive still. He's good. All right, he's good. He's resting." And then I woke up. I was like, "Is it over?" As soon as we stepped foot outside of the auditorium, I felt perfectly fine. I have
Dang.
no idea what happened, but I passed out in an ear-rapingly loud concert because I felt so deathly ill. And then as soon as we left that building, I was like, I'm fine.
That is
I'm doing
bizarre.
good. And I still have no understanding of how that happened. I don't know if I just like died of stress because of the value of how much that was, even though that technically isn't too much money now that I have money. But like still, I feel like I either like overpsyched my 11-year-old self, or just Satan was like, "You're sick now,"
Well,
and I just
you just
passed
wanted
out.
to, right?
He was just like, this child's trying to do something. No, no, no. And then just cast a plague upon me.
Dang.
Yeah,
That,
but that's my one really weird sleep story.
that,
That's the meat and potatoes. That's the big boy one.
jeez.
You're so cool, Steven.
I don't know how dying in a concert makes me cool.
You live to tell the tale.
Well, no, I even had like really bad side effects from when I got the COVID vaccine. That was nowhere close to how sick I felt during that night. That concert
Huh.
is the worst I've ever felt in my whole life.
Dang.
All
And
right.
it was only for that moment.
I too fell asleep at a concert, but mostly not because I was dying. I forget. I think I might have been in like second grade. So I guess just like do the math yourself how old I would be. But essentially, I just remember I was hanging out with my friend, who I hate now, I might add. But anyway, essentially, she was like, "Oh my god, me and my mom are going to this Justin Bieber concert. Like, you need to go with us. I don't know when it is, but you need to go." And I was like, "Okay, okay, whatever." And then my mom was also in the car because she was picking us up from school at the time. And so I was like, "Hey, mom, what do you think about this situation?" She's like, "I don't know. I'll think about it." Cut to 2 minutes later, we get back home, and my friend's mom is there, and there are two shirts with like Justin Bieber's face on them, because I guess the concert was that night and she didn't even know. But I guess I didn't really get a choice, but it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. Going to a concert in second grade's cool. Anyway, so essentially we get there. It's kind of late, like, at least for a second grader, right? Like, by the time we get there, it's already dark outside. So we're just chilling. These girls in front of us are screaming really, really loudly. And this is like the like haircut phase of Justin Bieber. This was like full Bieber bangs, right? So I don't even remember any of the songs he played. I really don't. All I remember was that at one point in this concert, he was basically on a floating heart, which is really weird, but it was like a weird metal frame of a heart, and he was just like cruising above the audience, and I was like, what the fuck? What is happening right now? But yeah, full disrespect, I fell asleep because I did not care, and I was tired. It was past my bedtime. Full disrespect.
Dang.
But I think I do have one sleepwalking story. I don't have any other like history of sleepwalking other than this one time. And I was too young to remember, but my mom seems to love to bring it up every 20 minutes at family gatherings. So here we go. Essentially, when I was little, my grandma, who lives in like Southern California, would visit like all the time. And for whatever reason, I guess me and my sister, who shared a room at the time, like wanted her to sleep in our room. And we had these twin beds, and there was like a gap in between them, and there was like a little nightstand between our two beds. So she kind of slept in the gap between our two beds. And this is like late at night. Don't know what prompted this, but I just like get up and I stand on top of the nightstand and scream really, really loudly and then jump on top of my grandmother while she's asleep. Yeah, that was nice. I'm assuming I woke up immediately after. But
Poor grandma.
It's like when Brandon like woke up and he's like a box on top of a nightstand. You just woke up and you have your half strangled grandmother in the palm of your hands, and you're just like, "What was I doing?" After you just like choked out your grandmother.
I did not choke her out. I bashed her in. I jumped on top of her.
I just kind of pounced on her. It might be just a little too hard.
Okay, but if it makes it any better, I was a small child, so it's not like I weighed like more than 50 pounds.
So you were just a demon baby from all the scary movies.
Apparently so.
Jesus
Mm.
Christ. I
Dang.
would say the only sleepwalking story that I have, because I don't sleepwalk, I don't snore, I don't do like anything in my sleep other than the fact that like because of insomnia, I've never actually, well, for a long time I've never gone into like a deep sleep. I can hear like anything that is said to me while I'm sleeping, depending on like my stage of sleep, but I won't be able to react or do anything about it. I'll just know that someone like said something to me, and I'll just be like, okay, and then do absolutely nothing about it. But I do stay up and for late, like I stay up late a lot of times because of insomnia, not being able to sleep, or just because I
Yeah.
really don't care to go to bed at that moment. And I'll be in the kitchen most nights just getting snacks and whatnot. And one night in particular, I heard like noises out in the kitchen on my way to get some food, and I was just like, okay, that's weird. Maybe my cats have just like knocked stuff over, because they've done that several times where they will just go on a rampage and just knock literally anything that's on a high counter off of it and create the biggest noise possible. And so I was just like, all right, well, maybe that's what's happening. And then all of a sudden I just hear a like a really low moan, just like a
Oh.
and I was like,
Oh.
fuck. So
Oh.
I get up and I go out, and I'm just like, I don't know if my cat is like dying, but that doesn't sound good. And I walk out and I turn on the light to the kitchen to see my older brother looking at his reflection through the oven, like looking at his reflection in the oven, but he's asleep because he's sleepwalking, and I'm just sitting there just like, you okay? And he just is still looking at whatever, and it's like that, like any scene with like any like horror movie about like demons and whatnot kind of moment where you're standing and talking to an unresponsive person. I was just like, you okay? And then all of a sudden he turns. He doesn't turn and face me. He turns and walks around the island of our kitchen behind me, and then goes back to his room and closes the door behind him and goes back to bed. And I was just like, what just happened? And so I went to go check on him, and I opened the door, and he's just standing on top of his bed. And I was just like, I'm gonna leave you be, and slowly close the door. This is at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, nope, nope, I'm gonna go back to bed. I've heard other stories from my parents of him talking in his sleep and whatnot, and it's just like, sometimes I'm concerned if like in the middle of the night you get possessed by like a demon or something, because you do some weird things, dude. I've seen you do some weird things in your sleep, man. But yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna take a little bit of turn on things here and move on from
Don't turn on
sleepwalking.
things.
I'm gonna take a turn on.
Yeah, don't
things.
turn things on. Stop
I'm
trying
not.
to.
No, I'm not gonna turn things on. I'm gonna switch things up a bit. As guess
Okay.
it could have phrased it.
That's a better choice of words.
I'm gonna transition into a little more. I don't know.
Lost it. You
Just
lost
little
it.
different topics in sleepwalking.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna talk about some nightmares and stuff like that. There's only two specific stories, I guess, I'm going to talk about, and I feel like I want to bring these up just because these are nightmares that I've had when I was a young lad, and I remember them to this day. So I feel like they are a part of me. That
You're such a
it's
grandfather,
appropriate.
dude. You're such a grandfather.
You're a
When I was a young lad.
I was a young lad. I was at 9 or 10. I was like 7 or something. I want to say I
2
was
years
7,
younger.
6 or 7. So,
young lad age. The average young lad.
So the first nightmare I have, this one ended up being like a reoccurring nightmare afterwards, but actually before that I should say, for those of you who don't know, my favorite animal is a wolf, and ironically, a lot of my nightmares as a child actually involved wolves charging at me and just pouncing on me, and then me waking up and just this absolute adrenaline, like I couldn't fall back asleep afterwards way.
Kind of like when Grace pounced on her grandma, kind of way.
No, I think what made it worse was, for me personally, like, yeah, I get scared on like jump scares and stuff, but not nearly as much as if I know something is coming towards me and I can't do anything about it. Like, if I know something's coming and I can't do anything about me, that like scares me way more than just a jump scare or something like that. Because what would happen? A lot of these would actually happen at my old Folsom house. It would just be nighttime. It'd be really dark, and I would be downstairs in the living room, and I could just hear these very rapid, like, thumping and footsteps coming from upstairs, and I just see like the shadows of like these really just dark wolves running down the stairs, and then they run around the corner, and then they just like they charge at me, like face first charge at me, and then my dream would end, and then again I just couldn't go back to sleep after that. But those ended at one point, and this moves on to the nightmare I wanted to talk about. So it starts out with, for some reason, I'm on like my kindergarten playground, and there's no one on there, and there's just no one on there, and this was, of course, one of those dreams where like I didn't realize I was dreaming. Like I for some reason was okay with being on the playground alone, but you know what? And we had like this little playhouse, like it was like one of those kid size like plastic playhouses thing, so like it felt like the kid, was in like their actual own little house thing kind of thing. And I went inside, and all of a sudden it got really cloudy outside, and I just, like, it wasn't a ringing, but it was just a very just deep pressure in my ear that kind of made this high-pitched noise. And all of a sudden, I got launched from this playhouse. Like, the roof just opened, and I get flung into the sky. And, like, my envision is just covered in clouds. And all of a sudden, a bald eagle, like, just appears in front of me, but it's not like a normal looking bald eagle. It's like taking up all of my vision. Like, it's this, I don't even know how to describe it, but like it looked like a creepypasta version of a bald eagle, but just like a drawing of it. But like I like I said, I don't know how to describe it, but like it just came up at me very quickly, and then like its head was facing to like its side, so it wasn't looking directly at me, but then it did. And then like its mouth opened, and this piercing shriek, like it was bizarre. Like I can't recreate it, but I just remember how it sounds. And like it was straight up just shrieking at me for a straight 10 seconds, and I woke up from that, and I just could not fall back asleep that night. And what was really weird was I've had a few times where I've had lucid dreams where, yeah, I basically became aware that I was dreaming, and me being, an overthinker and stuff, I would always kind of screw myself when that would happen because as soon as I realized I was dreaming, I would start overthinking and be like, "Oh, what if this thing jumped out at me? What if this thing appeared and started
Yeah.
chasing me?" And then, of course, because I started thinking like that, it would happen. And yeah, I would basically induce nightmares on myself. And so after that bald eagle dream happened, basically it just kind of stuck with me for a while. And every time I had a lucid dream, it just crossed my mind, and I would, as soon as it happened, I would be like, "Oh shit, no, stop thinking about that." And I started trying to think of something else, but then it'd be too late. And wherever I was in my dream setting, I would basically just get flown in the air again. And then some version of this creepy pasta bald eagle just came flying in my face, and that's how the dream ended. And then I'd wake up and I'd be like, why did I do that to myself? I would get so mad. Like, it got to a point where I went from being just absolutely terrified to just being absolutely pissed at myself. Like, why did you do that? What are you doing? What are you thinking? Yeah, and
Unlucky.
yeah, that ended after a while, but yeah, those just really stuck with me, and I guess this isn't related, but this is just one other nightmare that I had that also just kind of stuck with me. That was kind of more disturbing than that one. But I used to have a dog like I said, this is around when I was 6 or 7. But I used to have a dog named Luca, and my dad ended up having to give her away to like another family because I think there's raccoons in her backyard or something that were terrorizing her, and she just was not happy at the house, so she had to give her away. And that really sucked for me because I really liked Luca, and yeah, I was just really sad about it. So she was just kind of on my mind all the time. And one night I did have a dream about her, and again I was in the Folsom house, my old Folsom house, and it started out. I was in the front room, so not like my living room, but like the room where the front door was. There's like a little space we had just with like a couch and stuff. And I was basically sitting there with Luca, and it was fairly normal for the most part. I don't exactly remember what I was doing. All I remember is just all of a sudden, the lights started going out in the house. And again, like, yeah. And it got like my field of vision got very weird to where I could only see what was in the front room, and anything past that was just this dark, just abyss. And in my mind, like, it was weird because I wasn't exactly aware I was dreaming, but I kind of had like a feeling all of a sudden that, like, again, those wolves I was talking about earlier, like that was about to happen again. But yeah, for some reason I just wasn't aware that I was dreaming. But all of a sudden, like, I just hear Luca just absolutely just scream, like this very just disturbing just shriek. And I look, and her face is like dug in a corner, and there's like lava or something, and she turns around and her face is just like melting, and it was just, yeah, it was very disturbing. And like, I don't know, she just kind of disappeared after that, and then the wolves came, and then I died, and then I woke up.
I think you should go seek help. I think that's what this is telling you.
So yeah, that happened, and yeah, again, that dream's just kind of stuck with me. So I don't know. It was just very weird. But honestly, like, I haven't had any nightmares like that at all recently. The only really form of, I guess, quote unquote nightmare I've had is there was a time period like last year where there was a month where I just wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and just for some reason had a lot of cases of sleep paralysis at night. And like, yeah, that's terrifying by itself. But
Oh yeah,
just
for
because,
sure.
especially the first time it happened, because it's like, yeah, no, you can't, you literally like can't move. Like your eyes could kind of like look around, but like it got to the point where, because I didn't know what sleep paralysis was the first time I had it, and um, yeah, like I didn't know what was going on, but because I couldn't move, I started freaking out and just, I to the point where like I couldn't really breathe that well, and because I was trying so hard to move. And again, like it's no joke when people say like it feels like there's something in the room with you, but you can't see what it is. You just know there's a presence in the room. Like that's no joke. Like that's absolutely real. And it feels like a demon or something is just in there with you. And that, yeah, honestly, it's terrifying. So that's, I guess, I can't exactly remember the last like nightmare dream I've had, but I guess in any form, like I guess the sleep paralysis. Again, I haven't actually had a case of sleep paralysis in a while, but like I said, it was just that one few months or something. Like I still have it every now and then, but it hasn't happened recently, luckily. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, some people even talk about the fact that like they can see something occasionally. It just won't be like super detailed. It'll just be like there's a figure over there. Like I can see a distinct outline right there. That's not something that's in my room, like a little shadowy thing. When they have sleep paralysis, some people actually do see some stuff, and
I will
it's
say like
pretty
um
freaky.
yeah I like the few times like I feel like something was approaching me, but then like yeah, I kind of snapped out of it by then. And I think there was one time where I did kind of see something like creeping up on me, but it was weird. It was like imagine like a very stretched out, like disturbingly thin, like Coraline character with
Slenderman.
like it was literally like a female Slenderman with just this long dark hair and just stretched out face, just kind of stretching out towards me at one point, and then yeah, that was creep. But yeah,
I have
Yeah.
no experience with lucid dreaming or sleep paralysis, but I will say something really, really weird about me is my dreams always have to follow some sort of basic level of logic. Like, I don't have a ton of dreams that I remember, but for example, if I was a mermaid, like at least 10 times throughout that dream, I would have to resurface and breathe in air because like my brain was just physically incapable of being like, oh yeah, you can breathe underwater.
you're,
So like
you're,
my brain would be like, nope, you can't breathe right now. And then like mid plot line, I swim up to the surface and get air.
your, your brain is just like, I know that we're having a fun time creating this weird story, but hang on, we have to make at least some of it realistic.
No, it was just really, really weird, you know? And I feel
Bizarre, yeah.
like for like nightmares, I never really had them very often, but when I did, they were terrifying. And it would like keep me up for the rest of the night. Like the only thing that comes to mind is I don't even remember what I was dreaming about before this, but I was on a beach and it was like very bleak. So it was probably extremely early in the morning, like right as the sun was rising. And I was like by myself for whatever reason. And I was a kid. I was like 10, 12 at the oldest. And I just like saw something in the water and I was like, what's that? And it was just like a murdered guy.
Oh.
And yeah, like stabbed and super bloated. And I was like, I'm uncomfy. And then I woke up.
This makes me uncomfortable. All right, well.
All right, well, I'm out.
Well,
Nope.
I used to get nightmares all the time when I was growing up. But I also learned over the years that my nightmares came from my room being too hot. So if my room was like an uncomfortably warm temperature, because I like to sleep in the cold. If the room is cold, then that just means that I can only get warmer. It can't get any colder in the room, but I can get warmer. Whereas if the room is warm, like then I can't sleep in blankets or whatnot. But it's like I learned that yeah, if I'm in if I'm in a like uncomfortably hot room, I would have nightmares all the time. So I haven't had nightmares since I figured that out, which was like a couple of years ago. But
Damn,
the
that's crazy.
the worst thanks the absolute worst, and like the how hot the room was would affect like how terrifying the nightmare would be. I remember one instance I woke up in like a similar instance to my sickness story where I was just kind of like profusely sweating, and you could tell that I had been sweating for a while because it was so hot in the room. But it was my one and only instance of sleep paralysis where I woke up and I was like,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
and because it was so hot in the room, it was either like yeah, sleep paralysis or me hallucinating or whatever. But like the it was I had my own little figure guy that was in my room, and the way my room works is that it's a very long rectangle, and on one side of the room is my closet, which takes up basically most of that wall, and right next to it is the door. It's not like a walk-in closet; it's more supposed to be a sliding door closet, but there were no doors with it, so it just is a closet that has room for doors. That doesn't have doors, and right next to it is the actual door to my room, and my bed would be on the other side of the room. And I used to share my room with my older brother who sleepwalked, and he we had a bunk bed, and he would sleep on the bottom and I would sleep on the top bunk. And this was actually when we were still sharing a room at that point, and I was on the top bunk, and I remember looking, and there was a shadow on the ceiling, which didn't make sense because there were no lights on and it was dark. And there was just a darker figure on the ceiling, and it was like I don't know, maybe 4 o'clock, so the sun was like starting to rise, 4 or 5 o'clock. So like there was enough light for me to tell like there's a shadow on the ceiling. That doesn't make any sense, and all I saw was that because I was sleeping facing, with my head facing towards my closet, at an angle to where I was able to see the ceiling and the closet. And I just watched the shadow slowly change into more of like less of a block and more of just a face on the ceiling as it got closer to me. And as soon as it was like a full face is when it disappeared, and I was like, "Hi,
Yeah.
and like snapped
Yeah.
out of it, and I was like, whoa, whoa, ah,
Yeah.
and then I was able to figure out that yeah, no, I think that was literally the night where I was like, this room's really hot, it's really high here, and I haven't had an instance like that since, but I was like, that stuff is not fun.
No.
It's not enjoyable, man, to just have to sit there and watch something come at you when you
Well, yeah,
can't do anything about it.
like I said, I mean, if you're trying so hard to struggle to get out, like it's hard to breathe. Like it's
Yeah,
just,
no, for sure.
yeah. And then what sucks afterwards is that you're kind of scared of it happening again. So it's hard to have a will to go back to sleep, and it's just,
Yeah,
oh,
no. And like Grace, I don't remember too many of my nightmares. I just know that yeah, depending on how hot the room was would depend on how well lucid that dream would be. I did have a reoccurring weird dream that came up in random instances of me and the boys fighting our school principal, who turned
oh,
into like a Godzilla.
Oh.
It's not like a nightmare at all. It would just be like your classic, like I don't know, like this, like the new Suicide Squad movie. It was kind of like that instance where it's just like all of us little guys fighting that giant monster, or whatever. And it was one of the weirdest dreams because we didn't fight him using like anything else, or like even something that would make sense like in a kid's dream, like Nerf guns or anything, or any instance like that. We were just like, dude, there's a ball cage over there, let's hit him with some dodgeballs. And this this dream occurred multiple times throughout my life, and I just remember it being weird throwing these massive dodgeballs at a like 40-foot tall principal.
Oh.
And I would not have like a resolution to that dream. It would just be like we threw dodgeballs at him for a little bit, and then I'd wake up and be like, dang it. But that would be it.
Yeah, that's. Just imagine just little Steven going, dang it, I beat the
Right?
principal.
Being super depressed that I couldn't throw a meteor dodgeball at my principal to finish him off.
Maybe it's because you're trash.
That's probably true. What to say though?
Oh.
Well, do we have any last minute stories that we wanna share?
I think those were the few ones that I had up my sleeve, but
Yeah, I'm not very interesting.
Well, it's kind of hard to like think of stories related to like sleep because you're asleep when those happen. So
Yeah.
like memory is already really fuzzy when it comes to dreams because like there is a fine line between like what was your actual dream and what was you just making it up and imagining that, because theoretically, from what we know about dreams, and we know very little, it's the exact same concept, except one has like less of a control over the other kind of aspect. Like, you have total control over your dreams, but it doesn't feel like it in the moment, even though all you're doing is imagining with your eyes closed.
I mean, I think I do have one comment. It's not necessarily a story. I just think it's really funny. I just remember I used to be huge into writing poetry, short stories, whatever. And whenever I'd get writer's block, sometimes I would just plagiarize parts of my dreams.
How is that
I was like,
plagiarism, though?
Interesting.
You didn't cite your own subconscious. I am going to tell the
how do I-
principal.
How do I do MLA citations for my own dreams?
still
yeah.
works cited page for just specific dreams that happened on certain dates, and then you just have to write.
Yeah, that MLA format where it's like the date you accessed this thing, and it's just like, well, I went to bed last night. So that's when I accessed my subconscious. Was when I fell asleep the other night. Actually, it was an hour ago when I decided, oh yeah, I need to actually finish writing this paper.
I need to take a nap.
Alright, well,
Mm,
is there anything else people want to get off their chest about
No.
dreams? It's quite
No,
an
for
interesting
me.
episode.
I mean, I don't know about dreams, but I do have something to get off my chest.
Is it Brandon?
No, it is the fact that I think that Steven's the third wheel of this episode because his biggest story revolved around him being like unconscious, not necessarily asleep.
That's totally fair though. In all honesty.
I don't know. Being
know.
unconscious and being asleep is like kind of two different things.
It's
So I don't
not
know.
willingly being asleep. I didn't choose to like pass out and just be like, this looks like a nice comfy place to pass out. It was like, nah, I need to lie down.
I mean, I've only passed out twice in my life, and that's how it pretty much is. Like, you don't know you passed out until you wake up from it.
Right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've
Doesn't make
contemplated
sleep,
that
boys.
for years. I've contemplated that thing for years because it's just like, yeah, you have people who go into like comas and whatnot, or you have people who like mentally check out and go into hibernation for a little bit, or just people who pass out and have like, I forget like what the actual disease is, but like where they pass out like every 20 minutes or maybe like 5 times a day daily with no reason for why it is. But it's like, you know how, like if you see them passed out, you know how long it's been. But in some cases, it's like they either blinked or were like out for a minute or two.
Oh yeah.
And time is super quick when you're passed out, and it's
Oh, yeah.
so bizarre.
That's cool, but who's the third wheel, Steven?
I don't know. I agree. As far as like with myself, as far as being a being third wheel as far as like, yeah, I passed out and whatnot. I don't know, Grace. I do. Other than the fact that you turned into a demon child and like tried to murder your grandmother, but there might not have been a lot there. There was more there than you were leading on, though. I will give you that. You did provide a lot more a lot more than you were leading on to have had in your back pocket.
Called the
So-
element of surprise.
It's called I was playing you the whole time.
Mm,
How about you, Brandon? Who do you think?
Wait, you never established. Does that mean I'm the third wheel?
Yeah, I don't know, Grace. I think I got a, other than you pouncing.
Okay,
on
but
your
you
grand-
said I can see myself being the third wheel, and you said, but I don't know. And then
Yeah,
you
it's
like
the,
contemplated between the two. You never officially said one.
It's the concept of agreeing with you and understanding your point, but providing a counter
Yeah. Anyway,
argument.
that's cool, Brandon.
well, yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, yeah,
Vote
Grace
yourself
is
and make it a
Grace-
tie.
No, I'm not voting. I feel like I contributed great to this episode.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brandon really did nail it this episode.
Oh.
He's like half of the content here today.
I'm not gonna do that to myself again, cause yeah, I mean, I did that to myself last episode. I'm not gonna do myself again like that. Take that not in however you were thinking.
What?
So I don't know, cause yeah, Grace's grandma story that really yeah, wow. Wow.
No words other than wow.
Me
Um,
almost murder someone. Oh wow.
The mermaid thing and not being able having to like come up for air underwater. I mean, I can relate to that a little bit. I
You were a
understand.
mermaid that needed to come up for air.
I wasn't a mermaid, but like there was times where I think I have become self-aware that I was dreaming because I was able to breathe underwater, and I was like, wait a second.
Hang on a second.
Steven, your story of you passing out, yeah, that's like, damn, man.
Fantastic. Who's the third wheel? We don't need the recap, Mr. Man.
Mr. Man. Yeah, mansplaining to our audience.
Yeah, we had a
Your choice out
mansplain
here.
this whole episode.
I'm
Should stop being
providing
mean to you.
context for this decision I'm about
Enough
to
with the
make.
dramatic reveal. Who is it?
No, I'm explaining my decision. Before.
I don't
I'm
care about why you're making the decision.
I'm
Who is
gonna
it?
cut all of this out to make it look like you've made that decision right then.
Okay, that's unfortunate. So yeah, I'm not choosing this based on like lack of, because both stories are very interesting. But yeah, I will have to agree that Grace's instance did happen while she was asleep. And not, yeah, like I said, Steven, I'm not taking away from how you almost died during a concert.
Suck my toes, Steven.
But because that really is very interesting, and that made me go. But since I have to make a decision, that's not myself. I am going to have to go with
I mean, you don't
Suck
have
my
to.
toes.
You don't have to not choose yourself. But
Can I?
Suck
can
my
I-
toes.
Does that mean I can just abstain? I can.
No.
no.
Okay, well
No.
then you're the third wheel, Steven.
I'll take it. And what's really ironic about this is that I write my intros and my outros tailored to like how I'm feeling towards the episode. So I'm gonna read my outro the way that I wrote it down. Well, first off, do we have any last thoughts? Brandon, do you have anything specific you want to say to anyone who's going through them sleep paralysis stuffs?
Honestly, I told my mom about it, and she said I should probably talk to a doctor about it, because yeah, I just wasn't sleeping, and I probably should have done that, but I never did, and yeah, that led to me having much more cases and just not knowing why it was happening. But so I mean, if it genuinely is just affecting your daily life afterward and you just can't sleep because of those experiences, like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to talk to a doctor about it just to make sure everything's good, or if you need to like talk stuff out about it, maybe that'll help. So I mean, yeah.
And Grace, do you have any closing thoughts?
Suck my toes. Don't be bad. Don't be Steven.
Damn, the shade, the disrespect being thrown over here.
Yeah, maybe don't be
Jeez.
the third wheel next time.
I wasn't unanimously decided because I chose not to choose myself.
Okay.
Take notes, Brandon.
Now I feel like I lost, even though I didn't. Now, damn.
I feel like I lost.
That's the goal.
That is the entire mission here. Is just to make it feel like you lost every episode, even though you probably are the only one who you were the only one who wasn't considered as the third wheel for this episode. Oh damn. Alright, well yeah, time to read my outro in the way that I wrote it, and then insert the stuff based off of what we decided on this podcast episode. Hey, thank you everyone for listening to Third Wheel. We hope you enjoyed everyone making fun of me. I don't appreciate it, but it's fine. But guess what, guys? I now have the honor of picking the next topic. So that's pretty cool. I have some ideas that I've been stranding together, and you know what? I'm really excited for those stories that I will be able to hear from you guys. Again, I hope you enjoyed the bashing of my name. Really means a lot to know that you guys cared so much about making me the third wheel.
Suck my
Really
toes,
appreciate
Steven.
it. Yeah,
I
fair.
offered to abstain.
Yeah. We don't like people who don't vote here, Brandon, because
You just don't want to be the bad guy.
Because you know what happens when you don't choose not to make a decision, Brandon? The rest of us are left to just wonder about what happened after having already made the decision. The whole great thing about having an odd number is that one side will win a vote no matter what. So if you abstain, you make it so much harder to run a good government, okay?
And I made my decision, and it just happened to be you. And
It just happened. I think you had a bias.
Words of Steven, Pokemon, go to the polls and vote, everybody.
That's not my words. I wish that were my quote. Anyways, guys, thank you again for listening. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being the third wheel, except there's everything wrong with being the third wheel.